Hi, I'm Rishi and I attended the Wind Ensemble concert on September 24th. This was my first ever wind ensemble concert. It was my first ever any type of instrumental concert. I had a great time. So before the music started playing, the thing that surprised me the most was that everybody just kind of warms up in the open. Um, so each instrument is kind of just going up and down their own scale and just warming up on their own, which creates like a real chaotic kind of noise. First piece starts off with an uplifting chorus. It starts off very piano, and then throughout the piece there's a lot of trumpets being used, and there's a lot of use of the percussions, which creates kind of like a march style dynamic contrast. Towards the ending, there is a lot of melody crescendos and decrescendos, and then right at the end, it ends on a very bold ending note, a very forte sound. Um, so yeah, um, after the after the first piece, I thought I'd be home for dinner. I thought it was like 4 minutes, and then the second piece started, and the second piece was like 20 minutes, which I'm not minding. I just thought that also surprised me because I just thought they would like there wouldn't be that much of a difference between the lengths of the different pieces, but there was, which is good. I enjoyed the music. So the second piece starts off with a back and forth with the percussion and the woodwinds. The melody itself is first introduced by the oboe, and then it's repeated by the rest of the orchestra. The oboe is a pretty prominent musical instrument used throughout the piece. It has a solo. Um, in the piece, there is also a duet between the, I believe, the clarinet and the trombone is what I heard, with the other brass instruments supplementing in the duet. The woodwinds add a very mystical element to the song, to the piece, and I think that's what the piece itself was trying to create. And the woodwinds definitely are probably the most useful group of instrument to create that mystical kind of element. Throughout the song, the tempo increases as well as the volume. There's points where the volume is very high, um, which there's also a lot of tempo contrast used of them like slowing the tempo down and then increasing it up. The percussion repeats the melody towards like after the middle of the piece, which creates like a sound contrast in the piece, which is something very cool to hear. The ending has a very immediate tempo increase, leading right to the final note. The second piece was very long, as I mentioned. In between the second and third, they switched up conductors. The third piece itself, and I searched this up later to find out what it was called, had like very long breaks, almost like the music itself was stopping and then starting up again. Those were called movements. So I was writing notes based on the different breaks they took. So I've separated this third piece to the different movements. So the first movement of the third piece starts off with woodwind and percussion voices. It creates a very cool sound. The tempo is very fast. The tempo itself actually fluctuates a lot throughout the piece, throughout the whole third piece, and throughout the first movement too. Um, Lots of moving lines almost between the brass and the woodwinds. The second movement had a very jazzy style to it. A lot of downbeats. I think there's a lot of imitations between the voices too. The third movement, the tempo slows down. It has more of a blues style. There's a clarinet solo, probably my favorite part of the whole concert was the clarinet solo. He just went off. So they in the third movement they slowly kind of it starts off very slow the tempo, and they slowly increase the tempo and it add in more voices, and then the whole orchestra kind of becomes unison, um, which is a pretty cool sound. So the fourth movement starts off slow again, and then the tempo starts slow again, and then it slowly kind of picks up throughout the movement, and then the tempo starts slow, picks up, and then right at the end it slows down again for melodic ending. The fifth movement is very fast, very staccato. Lots of moving lines, whole orchestra joins in for a melody, becomes very forte and unison. At the end, there is a percussion freestyle, and then the piece or the movement itself and the piece ends with a very forte note from the whole orchestra, which is very cool. The fourth. So now we're done with the third piece and all five movements. The fourth and final piece, I believe, was meant for a circus. The conductor came out and he made a joke that I enjoyed. He was talking about how much he loves history and how there's no money in history, which is fitting because I'm a history major myself. Um, they also brought out a ringmaster for this final piece, which the ringmaster called for audience participation, which I think added to what the piece itself. Because the piece itself was meant for a circus, which is meant for audience to be oohing and wahing. So that's what the ringmaster was calling for, which did add to what the piece was trying to create. This is probably my most you know what? No, I think the piece that I enjoyed the most was the third. They had the clarinet solo. It had the percussion freestyle, the drumming guy. But the fourth piece is a close second because I did enjoy the ringmaster's contribution. So the fourth and final piece, with the ringmaster, had a very forte and fast opening. There was a lot of soprano voices. There was also contrast. I think there was contrast created using staccato and legato. So they contrasted the staccato and legato. There was a middle slower melodic section in the piece itself, and then the full orchestra forte repetition of melody for the ending. The concert itself was very enjoyable. I dressed up. I put on not this shirt, but I put on another good white shirt. I'll include the picture of me at the concert for the video. But this was definitely something I enjoyed doing. I enjoyed in terms of things I noticed. The composer, which I thought was funny, he like after the or sorry, not the composer, the conductor, after they finish calling the pieces, he points to certain people to stand up and receive applause, and then he calls for everybody to. But I just don't know how he can tell who's like, unless you have a solo, like how can he tell who's doing really good? Because the sound itself is kind of coming from a section, kind of in unison, but yet he's able to. I mean, he probably has better ear than me, you know. But he's pointing and calling at individuals to stand up and receive applause, which pretty impressive. Seems like the conductor. Truth be told, like I'm not too sure how like he is calling for tempo increases, volume increases, but isn't that already written in the music itself? I'm not too sure. I don't know how to read music, so but it was also some couple weird things that I noticed, or not necessarily weird, but it was so the conductor goes to the back after every like even when they don't switch conductors, he just goes to the back and everybody plays the same. The whole orchestra plays the same note in unison, which isn't related. It's the same note every time, and it's not related to the piece itself. And then the conductor comes out, and then he does the piece. So I'm not too sure what that's for, but just in general, I had a very good time. I enjoyed. This was my first ever instrumental concert of my very first wind ensemble. Got two more, so but I enjoyed the opportunity to do this, and I enjoyed the experience itself. So thank you.